Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Sarah and today I'll be taking you through your practice. So today's practice is going to be based around finding a little bit of balance, having a little bit of exploration in certain poses. As always, please feel free to take what serves you today and leave what doesn't. The option is always there to take a child's pose at any point that feels like it's calling to you. Beautiful. So we're going to begin today's practice, with a little bit of breath awareness, just to bring ourselves into the body with the breath. So finding a seat when you feel comfortable, so that might be coming to sit cross-legged over a bolster or over a cushion or any props you might have at home. And also just mentioning that if you do have any props at home, i.e. blocks, or something that you substitute for blocks, maybe like shoe boxes or stacks of books or anything, please feel to grab those before we begin. Lovely. So when you feel ready and you've found your comfortable seat, there is no rush, taking your own time. Maybe coming to close down the eyes or taking a soft gaze out in front of you. And just tuning your focus inwards. And coming to focus your attention on your breath in the body. And starting to bring the awareness to the inhale and to the exhale. I'm not changing anything or forcing anything within the breath. We are merely observing the breath coming in and coming out. And to help with your focus, you might even like to bring a word to the breath. So on your inhale, you might say the word inhale, and on your exhale, you might say the word exhale. And then either staying here, or maybe bringing the awareness to where the breath is in the body. So we're still following the breath, the inhale and exhale, but we're next bringing awareness to where the breath is in your body. Is it in the stomach, the rise and the fall, or maybe in the chest? Or maybe you feel it coming in and out of the nostrils. I'm not attaching any judgment here. There is no right, there is no wrong. Just noticing where the breath is naturally in your body as we follow it in and out. And knowing that if the mind wanders, this is perfectly natural and perfectly normal. And gently guiding the awareness back to the breath, back to where it is in the body. And focusing your attention here. And taking 2 more rounds of observation and breath in your time. Allowing the breath to come back to its natural rhythm, letting go of any breath awareness, any breath practice. Coming to open up the eyes if you took the option to close them down. And before coming to find our way onto the mat. So removing any props. We're coming to find our backs all the way down to the mat. Knees are bent, feet are planted firmly on the mat. And then next, bringing your knees towards your chest, maybe taking the knees or the shins into the hands and bringing the thighs towards your stomach, towards your chest, giving them a little squeeze. And then maybe if this is good for you, you might like to take the forearms around the front of the shins, maybe taking hold of opposite elbows And bringing that squeeze in a little bit tighter. Maybe taking some rocks side to side. Massaging out through the spine. And then on your next breath, coming to let go of the legs, placing the feet back down towards the mat. Knees are still bent. Next, transitioning to bring the hands on towards the hips as we then move through some pelvic tilts. So to begin with, we're going to tuck the tailbone. Maybe the chin comes slightly towards the chest, so the lower back is flat down towards the mat. And then on your next breath, we're lowering the tailbone down towards the mat. Maybe the chin rises ever so slightly. We're finding a subtle arch through the lower part of the back. And then move in between these two movements. And maybe your movement here is very subtle. Maybe you are barely even moving the pelvis and the hips. Maybe you are using the breath to guide you. Or maybe your movements are slightly exaggerated. Just honouring whatever feels right here for your body at the beginning of your practice. And then taking 2 to 3 more rounds, both ways. Using the breath to guide you through each movement. And then when you feel like you've done your final round, coming to place the hands beside the body and allowing the body just to feel in its natural resting pose here. Next transitioning, we're coming into dead bug. So we're finding ourselves in a reverse tabletop. So we're still on the back is flat to the mat. We're lifting the legs up so that the knees are bent about 90 degrees. Maybe you're flexing the toes or pointing the toes. Maybe the knees are together or they're separated. And then coming to lift the hands, lift the arms so the fingertips are facing up towards the ceiling. And taking an inhale here, and then on your exhale, we're lowering that left leg and we're lowering the right arm behind us. Still maintaining that lower back towards the mat, coming back through center, taking the opposite side, so we're lowering the right leg, left arm. So when I say lower, the arm and the leg are not touching the floor, they are hovering. And that might be that it's a slight hover, so it might be like this is what your dead bug looks like. Not necessarily do you have to go the full range. And then taking that movement on both sides one more time before coming back through center. And then taking one more round, exploring your depth, exploring your range here. And then coming back through center, allowing the feet to come down, the hands to come down. And we'll be transitioning back into that one more time. So on your next breath, coming back to find your reverse tabletop. So the knees are bent roughly about 90 degrees. So the knees are stacking over the hips, arms are extended out wide, up towards the ceiling. And then the option is here to either stay with those opposite arm, opposite leg dead bugs, or you might like to play with extending both arms and both legs at the same time. So if you are staying with your singular dead bugs, please feel free to do so. But if you are going to come with the both arms, both legs at the same time, let's practice together first, just lowering them ever so slightly. So we're hovering the hands over the head, hovering the knees ever so slightly, and coming back through center. And then extending the legs and the arms maybe a little bit further out, and coming back through center. And then taking one more range of movement here, maybe that's lowering the hands all the way down and the legs all the way down so they're hovering off the mat before coming back through center.
And then coming to place the hands back down beside the body, the feet back down. And just taking a moment here to notice what there is to notice. Just noticing how that might have felt through the core, maybe through the hip flexors, maybe through the shoulders. And then transitioning into a tabletop, so maybe rolling up and down the spine or coming up however you feel, crossing at the ankles, coming over the tops of the legs and stepping back into tabletop. Coming to place the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips or thereabouts. Finding a nice neutral spine, gaze is down towards the mat so the neck is in line with the spine. And then on your next breath, we're lowering the stomach down towards the mat, tailbone is lifting up towards the ceiling, gaze comes before you in front of the mat for your cow pose. And then reversing this motion, tucking the tailbone down, spine is lifting up towards the ceiling, chin is tucking in towards the chest for cat pose. And then moving between these two motions. And using the breath to guide you. And then either staying here with your cat-cows, or maybe you want to incorporate some extra spinal waves and extra movement through the shoulders, through the hips. So just moving here with whatever that looks like for you. That might be bringing the hip over towards the right, hip over towards the left. That might be maybe lowering the forearms down and back up. Maybe just circling out through the hips, through the shoulders, finding some real dynamic movements here through the spine. Maybe that's coming back into child's pose and snaking your way back up into tabletop, coming over the top of the wrists for a moment. Just really coming into that spine, into the hips, into the ribs, into the shoulders. And finding some movement here for you. And then coming to find stillness when you are ready. Great work. Coming back into our tabletop, taking the hands a handprint out in front of us, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And being your first downward dog, maybe taking a couple of pedals out through the feet, allowing a nice generous bend in the knees here, creating some space and some length through the spine as we push down through the hands, pushing back into the heels, creating an even distributed weight here through our downward facing dog. And then on your next breath, coming to walk the hands towards the feet, towards the hands, finding your version of forward folds. That might be elbows to knees, fingertips or palms towards the mat, or maybe taking hold of opposite elbows. And just taking a few rounds of breath here, allowing the head and neck to be heavy. And giving yourself a nice generous bend in the knees here if it's needed. And then firming down through the feet, really grounding down through the big toe, little toe, the heel, before coming up to rise, allowing the hands to be heavy in front of the body as we come up. Chin is the last thing to come up, taking the hands out wide, coming to bring the palms together. Maybe the hands might meet as they draw down through heart center. Coming to bring the hands beside the body for Tadasana, mountain pose. And then on your next breath, bringing the hands up towards the ceiling, palms might meet as they draw down through heart center. We're folding over the tops of the thighs. Coming to find your halfway lift, shins to hands, hands to shins, flat back. Gaze down towards the mat. Framing the feet, stepping the right foot back, left foot back, knees gently down towards the mat as we then lower the chest, stomach and head all the way down to the mat. Extending the right leg long, left leg long, finding length through the lower back. Rolling the shoulders away from the ears, back and down, hands are beside the rib cage. And on the next breath, coming to lift the head, lift the chest for baby cobra, firming down through the tops of the feet. Gaze is soft towards the mat, lowering back down, coming up through tabletop, tucking the toes and lifting your hips up and back for downward facing dog. And we're going to take that one more time. We're going to take it a little bit faster this time. So come in to find your way towards the top of your mat, however you feel, whether that's a step or jump, forward fold, coming up to rise, arms taking them out wide, palms might meet, drawing them down through heart center, Tadasana. And coming to bring the hands back over the head, folding down over the tops of the thighs. Coming to find your halfway lift, framing the feet, either stepping or jumping the feet back. You might like to come through baby cobra, or maybe you are in a high plank, coming down into low plank, and then transitioning into upward facing dog. And then untucking the toes, tucking the toes, coming up, lifting the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And then we're going to explore our balance here. So we're coming to bring some focus into the left foot, really firming down into that left foot, and really coming in to find some awareness into the right hand, really firming down for that right hand. So starting to become light through the right foot. Maybe you just lift that little bit of the toes off, bit of the base of the foot off the mat. And then the same with the right hand, coming to maybe come onto the fingertips of the left hand, coming onto the fingertips, so opposite arm, opposite leg. And then maybe you hover that left hand for a moment, and maybe you extend that right leg back a little bit more. So opposite arm, opposite leg is hovering. A lot of work here, a lot of balance. And then come into place, that left hand back down, right leg back down. Taking a moment of breath, noticing the body, maybe how that challenged the body. Maybe it didn't. And then really firming down through that right foot now. And really firming down through the left hand. Bringing the awareness to the weight in the left hand, right foot. And then start to become really light on the left tippy toes. And then bringing the awareness to the right hand, maybe coming onto the fingertips. And then slowly working with raising that left leg off the mat and the right hand off the mat. Maybe the fingertips are staying down. And just noticing if we flex the foot or point the foot, or if we walk the fingertips away from us with the right hand and then lift the arm, really firming down through the left hand. We're finding that sense of engagement that allows us to find our balance here. Embracing any wobbles that might come before placing the right hand down and the left foot down. Lovely work. And then you might like to come to find a child's pose here, or come to just sit off the wrists just for a moment, maybe taking a couple of circles out through the wrists. And coming to place the hands back down onto the thighs, or coming up from your child's pose if you took that option. And then next we're transitioning into camel sweeps. So you might like to have a couple of blocks maybe beside the feet here, or maybe you want to tuck the toes. So I'll just demonstrate for you to begin with what a camel sweep looks like. So we're going to start with the right arm coming across the left side of the body, so it's sweeping up to the left corner, and as we do so, the left hand comes over towards the left heel or towards the left block. And then as we come down, the hips come in towards the heels, that right arm sweeps back across the body, and then we come back up, the left hand sweeps across the right side of the body, and the right hand comes towards the right heel, or the right block. And then we're moving between these two motions. So however fast or slow you want to move. Really using those hips. There's a nice bit of leverage coming forward. So we're sending the hips towards the front of the mat. Maybe there's a little bit of an arch in the lower back as we do so. I'm just being gentle and kind to the body here. Just noticing if we are going too far. And taking 2 more rounds on each side. Really getting into that rhythm of the sweeps. you feel ready, coming back through center, untucking the toes, coming to sit over the tops of the thighs for just one moment. Noticing what there might be there to notice in the body at the moment. Maybe there's nothing, maybe there's lots. Becoming aware of the heat in the body maybe. Perfect. And then coming back up, we're coming through some camel lean backs. So once again, you might like to incorporate the blocks in here. You might like to tuck the toes. You might like to untuck the toes. Just taking whatever variation feels right for you today. So we're coming to kneel and just trying to bring some awareness into the hip bones. So we're sending them energetically forward. So that might mean that you'll notice the glutes might engage ever so slightly, the quads might sense some engagement there as well. And then maybe bringing the hands to heart center, or maybe they're staying on the hips. And with that engagement in mind, we're still keeping the chest nice and open as well. We're going to lean back. So that engagement is there, and as we lean back, that engagement is still there. Then coming back up. Once again, if you want to use the blocks, maybe you're bringing the hands to the blocks, and they're giving that extra bit of support as you lean back. Maybe you try with the toes tucked and the toes untucked. And just testing your range. First starting with a little bit, coming back, and then coming back up. All the while keeping that engagement, so sending the hips forward, pushing the hips energetically towards the top of the mat, towards the front of the room, so that you can feel that engagement through the glutes, through the quads, through the hamstrings, through the legs, through the lower back. And then testing that range, maybe you go even further back this time, and then coming back up. And the blocks are there to help you, so if at one point you do feel like you've compromised your pose and gone too far, use the blocks to help you come back up, or just simply come back down. So allow the hips to come back towards the heels. So we're just going to take 3, maybe 4 more rounds, or however many rounds you want to practice in your own time of these camel lean backs. Maybe you pause in one of the lean backs. Maybe you notice some trembling. And then when you feel ready, coming to sit over the tops of the thighs, over the tops of the heels, sorry, one more time. And just taking a moment here to breathe. Great work, guys. And then coming back into your downward facing dog when you are ready. So coming up to find the hips up and back. And then when you feel ready, we're coming to extend that right leg up and back for 3-legged dog. Maybe you're pointing the toes or flexing the toes to find that additional engagement through that lifted leg. And then bending the knee, bringing the knee towards the chest, stepping the foot forward, giving it a little helping hand if needed. And we're sending that heel up towards the ceiling, that back heel up towards the ceiling. Maybe there's a slight little bend in that back knee. Firming down through all toes as we come up to rise for crescent lunge. Maybe the hands are above the head, or maybe they're cactus or heart center. Just coming to find any variation that suits you. And then on our next breath, maybe taking any hand variation, or maybe bringing the hands towards the hips, bringing the awareness into that front foot, into the right foot. We're coming to lift that heel. So we're coming onto the right toes. Lowering the heel, and then the back leg, we're coming to lower that knee down towards the mat. It doesn't touch as we come back up. Lifting the front heel, so we're on the tippy toes, lowering the heel, and lowering that back knee down towards the mat, coming back up. Coming to lift the front heel. Some hot work going on here, lowering that front heel, coming to lower that back knee down, coming back up into crescent lunge. Beautiful. And then coming to spiral that back foot down. So we're coming into warrior 1. So the toes are facing the long edge of the mat around 45 degrees. Hands are above the head, or maybe any variation, just taking a moment here to explore your stance, finding your comfort, your range. And then coming to extend the arms out towards the side so they're in a T. And bringing them in front of us, bringing the right arm across the left so the arms are crossed, maybe giving yourself a nice little hug before coming to find eagle arms. So opposite palm to opposite palm. And if that doesn't connect, maybe it's back to the hands to back of hand. Find a sense of lift through the shoulders. And then on your next breath, we're coming forward to find humble warrior. So maybe your humble warrior is coming parallel over the mat. Or maybe you might like to invite bringing that right shoulder in towards the right knee. Taking a moment here, finding a breath, and then coming back up to rise. And turning on the back toes, finding your way back into your crescent lunge. We're coming into warrior 3 pose here. So if you want to unravel the arms, please feel free to, and take any variation of hands or arms. Maybe incorporate the blocks in here if you want to use the blocks for your warrior 3. If not, we're going to step that back foot in ever so slightly till we're on the tippy toes. The front knee has got a slight bend in it. We're finding some weight, some strength through that standing leg. And then coming to extend that left leg behind us, flexing the foot, body is parallel down to the mat roughly, as we find our warrior 3. And if you want a modified variation, using any props here, hands coming down to the props, maybe the leg is lifted off the foot ever so slightly. And then coming back up to stand. So we're lifting that knee, we're lifting the left knee. So we're now hovering the left knee in front of the body. Arms are still in eagle pose or whatever variation you've taken. And then we're taking that left foot and wrapping it around the back of the right calf. Finding eagle pose in your arms and your legs. Really focusing on a point here, finding your drishti so that you can find your balance. And then coming to unravel the legs, coming to raise that knee back up towards hip height. Leaning forward, bringing the body parallel as we send that leg behind us for warrior 3 one more time. Excellent work, guys. Coming to place that back foot down, finding the toes of the mat, unraveling the hands, coming to find our crescent lunge. And then coming to frame that right foot, step the right foot back to meet the left foot, and finding a round of vinyasa, or coming to find a child's pose. And then if you've taken a round of vinyasa, we'll meet in downward facing dog. If you are in child's pose, we are coming to find our downward facing dog. And then when you're in your downward facing dog, extending the left leg back behind us for a 3-legged dog. Finding that length through the leg, through the body. Bringing the knee towards the chest, stepping that foot through, giving it a little helping hand if needed. And we're kickstanding that back heel up towards the ceiling, bending through that front knee as we come up into crescent lunge. Taking any variation of hands that might be calling to you. And then on your next breath, we're coming to rise onto the tippy toes of the left leg. So the heel is coming off the mat, and we place the heel down. Coming to bend the right knee so it grazes the mat, maybe it doesn't even meet, and then coming back up. And then taking that 2 more times. And then once you've found yourself back in your crescent lunge, we're spiraling that back foot down, coming to find warrior 1. So front knee is bent, Back toes are facing the long edge of the mat, about 45-degree angle or thereabouts. And then playing with this stance. Maybe the toes want to move around a bit more. Maybe that doesn't feel right for your body alignment. And then coming to take the arms out beside you like a T. Sending them in front of you, sending the left arm underneath the right and giving yourself a little hug here. Then coming to find eagle arms. So we're wrapping the arms around each other, so we're coming palm to palm, or back of hand to back of hand. Taking a moment here to lift. And then coming forward, finding humble warrior. So that might be body coming parallel over the top of the mat, or maybe you are sending that left shoulder inside the left thigh. Inside the left knee, giving it a little hug towards that left shoulder. Then coming back up to rise, back for your warrior 1. And then transitioning into warrior 3. So we're coming back into our crescent lunge. Taking any variation of arms here. Maybe you're incorporating using the blocks. And we're slowly walking that back foot in. As it comes up to stand, that front leg straightens. Maybe there's a little micro bend in it. And then coming up to right, so that right leg is not touching the floor, the knee is coming up. So we're hovering the right leg in front of the body, coming up to stand. Taking a moment here, and then coming to wrap that right leg around the left leg so that the front of the foot wraps around the left calf. Or maybe the toes are coming to the floor, maybe you're using it like a kickstand. And then on the next breath, coming back up, so the knee is hovering, coming to bring the body forward, back into warrior 3. And then bring in the back toes so they meet the mat, coming to find your crescent lunge. And then coming to frame the left foot, stepping back, taking a round of vinyasa flow, or finding a child's pose, or sitting over the tops of the thighs. And if you found your way through your vinyasa flow, we're going to meet at the top of the mat. And if you've taken child's pose, coming up and finding your way into downward dog, and then walking or jumping towards the top of the mat, wherever is calling towards you, coming up to rise. Finding your way into Tadasana. So for our final standing pose today, we're going to practice tree pose. So if tree is in your practice and you already know where you're going, please feel free to go there. But if this is something that you don't regularly practice and you want to explore, then maybe find a prop, or we can go through several variations. So to begin with, we're coming to find ourselves in a Tadasana pose. Maybe the hands come towards the hips to begin with. And then start to think about bringing all of the weight into your left leg, your left foot. So maybe that means you're hovering the tippy toes of the right leg. The knee might be bent slightly. And then you might like to take the first variation, which is tiptoes, turning the heel towards the left inner seam of the leg. Maybe taking the hands out as if you was a tree. And if you want to take a different variation, coming back to bring that right foot back towards the mat. And then starting that process again. So feeling into the left leg, really firming down through that left foot. Bringing the balance into the left leg as we come onto the tiptoes of the right foot. And then lifting the right foot so it's placed on the inner seam of the left calf. or maybe it comes up higher. And we're not using our hands here to hike that leg up necessarily. We're allowing the body to do what it can do naturally. So just noticing where that wants to go for you. Maybe the hands are at heart center, hips, or in tree. And we're sending that knee to the back of the room, so we're opening up that hip. Bracing any wobbles that might come. And then coming to bring the hands through heart center, placing that right foot back down towards the mat. And just taking a moment here to notice what the difference is between those sides of the body, if there's anything to notice at all. And then coming to bring the awareness into the right leg, to the right foot. Really firming down through that right big toe, right little toe and heel. Really finding a sense of engagement through the quads, through the calf, through the hamstring. And then inviting in that concept of either playing with bringing the tiptoes of the left foot just off of the mat to find that balance to begin with. And maybe that heel comes on the inside of the right seam of the right leg near the ankle. Maybe you stay here, or maybe you then go through that practice of lifting the leg and placing it on the inside seam of the right leg. Just noticing where that leg wants to land, where the base of the left leg wants to land. Taking any hand variation here. And then bringing the awareness into that left knee, really sending it away to the back of the room. So opening up through the hip. And on your next breath, coming to bring the hands through heart center. Left leg comes back down to meet the right. Maybe taking a moment just to bounce out the legs, bounce out the body, before we come to find our way down to the mat. So removing any props out of the way or having them close by if you want to use them. Next we are going to find ourselves into a forward fold. So coming to extend the legs out long in front of you. Maybe removing any fleshy parts from the sit bones so that you can really feel the ground beneath you. Finding length through the spine, coming to sit nice and tall, projecting the crown up towards the ceiling. And next bringing the toes towards the face, so they might lift the heels up ever so slightly off the mat. And then with the hands, you might like to have them behind you or maybe in front of you. And then the option is to either stay here in Dandasana, or if you'd like to come into your forward fold, we're slowly going to start to walk the hands forward. Or maybe the hands are behind you and you're walking them forward also. And just noticing whatever range feels good for you. And if it doesn't feel right, maybe coming back out and coming back in and seeing where it feels right. Maybe even have a subtle bend in the knees or quite an exaggerated bend in the knees if you do want to come forward ever so slightly more. Just honouring what your body needs here today. And still incorporating that nice straight spine. We don't want to be dumping into the pose. Still maintaining our integrity. And then coming up when you feel ready, taking one more round of breath. Before coming to place the hands beside the hips, scooting the bottom forward towards the heels as we come to lay on the back. Extending the legs out long. Taking maybe a nice inhale and exhale. And then on your next breath, coming to bring the right knee towards the chest. Maybe interlacing the fingers, giving it a little squeeze towards the body. Maybe circling out through the ankle. And if you are, taking it the opposite way. And next, bringing the left hand into the right knee. And we're taking that right knee across the left side of the body. And sending the right arm out towards the side as we do so. Maintaining the upper back towards the mat. Maybe the gaze is up towards the ceiling or maybe it's down the right palm. And then on your next breath, coming back through center, extending that right leg long, maybe taking a full body stretch here. Before coming to bring that right knee towards the chest, maybe interlacing the fingers, giving it a little squeeze towards the body. Before bringing the right hand to the right knee, maybe shuffling the hips over a little bit towards the right side before we guide the left leg across the right side of the body for a supine spinal twist. Sending the left arm out towards the side, nice and long. And then maybe the gaze is up or down the left palm. And maintaining that upper back towards the mat. And then coming back through center when you're ready, taking another full body stretch here. Before coming to allow the legs out wide, arms out wide. Coming to find your final resting pose, your Shavasana. So Shavasana is not calling for you, it's not part of your practice. Feel free to leave your practice here today. If you're coming with me, coming to find your setup, maybe that's some props underneath the knees. Allowing the eyes to close down or taking a soft gaze if that's there for you. Allowing the ankles to become heavy so the feet roll out. And the fingertips and hands are heavy beneath the mat. And finding your natural rhythm of breath before finding your Shavasana. We'll be here for 1 to 2 minutes and I'll guide you out when we are finished. Start to bring some awareness back to the body, back to the present moment. Maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes nice and gently. And then slowly start to send that movement maybe into the wrists, into the ankles. And maybe taking the hands overhead, bringing the legs together, taking a nice full body stretch one last time. And then coming to roll over to one side, coming up to find a seat. Still maintaining those eyes closed or a soft gaze if that's there for you today. And bringing the hands so the palms meet and the thumbs coming towards heart center. Nice straight spine. And maybe you'd like to close your practice here today with a moment of gratitude. And maybe that gratitude is for something here on your mat today, or maybe something in your day or something in your week. It could be something very small, like someone holding a door open for you or making you a cup of coffee in the morning. And from my heart to yours, namaste. Thank you for your practice here today, guys. Hope you have a fabulous day. Take care.